You have watched thousands of hours of content about changing your life, and your life has not changed. That's not an accident, that's the product. There's a line from Fight Club that the self-improvement industry has spent 27 years hoping you'd forget. Tyler Durden says, "Self-improvement is masturbation." That was 1999. The industry is now worth nearly $50 billion. That's fucking insane. Which means either nobody watched that movie or they watched it and bought a self-improvement course anyway. The rest of that quote, the part nobody talks about, is way darker. And by the end of this video, I think you'll understand exactly what he meant. I'm going to show you exactly how the mechanism works, why the more of this content you consume, the harder actual change gets. And at the end, I'm going to give you the only antidote I found that actually works. It has a stupid name. It comes from the brain rot corner of the internet, and it's more effective than anything the self-improvement industry has ever sold. But first, something about yourself that you already know but haven't said out loud yet. You don't have an information problem. You know what to eat. You know you should move your body. You know the phone is eating your attention. You know you should be building something instead of watching other people build things on your screen at midnight. You watched a 47-minute video on the Pomodoro technique. You've watched a different video explaining why the Pomodoro technique doesn't work. You've downloaded 4 habit tracker apps. You know all of it, and you're still here. That's not a willpower nor a mindset problem. That's actually what addiction looks like, specifically the kind where the drug is the feeling of almost changing. The self-improvement industry is nearly $50 billion fucking dollars a year. You know what other industries run at that scale? Gambling? Alcohol? Not because people are weak, but because humans are easy to hook on the sensation of a reward without making them pay the real price for it. This industry found a way to sell you the feeling of growth without you requiring to actually grow. And it is so fucking good at this that you can spend years inside of it, buying, watching, journaling, tracking, and end up with a richer vocabulary for your problems and a life that looks almost exactly the same. Look at your actual life. Not the version in your head, your bank account, your body, your relationships, the project you've been about to start for 18 months. How much has changed since you found this content? If the answer is not much, that's not a coincidence. That's a business model. Your brain registers progress toward a goal almost the same way it registers the goal itself. Read that again. When you watch a video about getting fit, your brain fires anticipatory dopamine, a hit of the feeling you'd get from actually being fit. Not the full hit, but enough to take the edge off the discomfort that would have pushed you to do something. The self-improvement industry is not accidentally built on this. They A/B test thumbnails, they optimize hooks, they know exactly which emotional triggers make you feel that hit and come back for the next one. Here's what doesn't sell anything, so nobody says it. You're not stuck because you need a better system. You're stuck because doing the real thing, building something, putting it in front of people, starting before you're ready, means you have to find out what you're actually made of. Right now, you're someone with potential, and potential is safe. It's infinite until you test it. The moment you act, you get an answer, and part of you is genuinely terrified of that answer. So instead you watch, you learn, you plan, you optimize the plan, you optimize the fucking optimization. Every day you do that, you get to stay the person who could do great things, instead of becoming the person who tried and found out they weren't as special as they hoped. The content isn't making you better, it's making you comfortable being stuck. It's giving you a story. I'm working on myself. That sounds noble, better than the truth, which is, I'm afraid and I'm hiding, and I found the most socially acceptable hiding spot ever invented. And late at night, when the content stops and the phone goes dark and it's just you already know this. You've thought the thought that you don't want to say to anyone. Maybe this is just who I am. Maybe the starting and stopping, the watching and waiting, the potential that never goes anywhere. Maybe that's not a phase, maybe that's me. That thought is the most important thing in this video, because it means part of you has already figured out what's happening, and that part has been screaming at you for a long time. I'll tell you exactly what I was doing, and I mean exactly. I had a YouTube channel in my native language, Lithuanian, comedy, jokes, vlogs, challenges, etc. The kind of content that gets views because it's easy to watch and easy to forget. It worked, people watched, and the channel grew. And in 2019, I stopped, not because it failed, but because it felt like nothing. I'd spent years being funny on the internet instead of saying something real, so I walked away. Told myself I was going to make something serious, something that actually meant something. Then life got hard. I'm not going to get into the details, but by 2022, I genuinely hated where I was. And that's exactly when I found self-improvement content, which looking back makes a lot of fucking sense, because the industry is perfectly designed to catch you at that moment, when you're in enough pain to want to change, but not yet desperate enough to actually do anything uncomfortable. You're the ideal customer. motivated but scared, hungry but not starving. So from 2022 to 2025, 3 years, I consumed self-improvement content, productivity systems, mindset frameworks, discipline, morning routines, and slowly, quietly, the original thing, the serious channel, the content that actually meant something to me, got buried under all of it. Not abandoned, but forever about to happen. At one point, I had watched so much content about self-improvement that I genuinely felt like I was improving. That's the trick. That's the whole trick. That's how they get you. I was an expert in changing my life who had not changed anything, which if you think about it is a very special kind of pathetic. But here's the thing I've never said out loud before. Underneath all of it, the fear was never what if I fail? I'd already walked away from something that worked, that was successful. I knew I could survive failure. The real fear was, what if I finally make the thing I actually care about, put it out into the world, and turns out I'm not as deep as I thought I was? What if I say something real and people don't like it? Comedy's safe, you can hide behind a joke. Meanwhile, serious content where you're actually saying what you mean, where there's no punchline to hide behind. That's just you. So I watched more videos instead. I optimized a channel that didn't exist yet for an audience I hadn't found, working on content I would never upload. I'm telling you this because I'm still partly in it. This channel right now, this video, is me finally doing the thing I spent years circling around. The insecurity didn't disappear when I started. I just stopped letting it make decisions. The only thing that actually helped wasn't a framework or a routine. It was realizing that confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from it. You don't get ready and then start. You start and readiness follows after you, slowly, one video at a time. The people who actually moved their lives didn't have better information than you. They made a decision, usually at some undramatic moment, scared, not ready, that the pain of staying the same was worse than the pain of being publicly bad at something new. There's no course that sells that, because the moment you make that decision, you stop being a customer. There's actually a word for it, invented by people who are chronically online and somehow stumbled onto something true. I'll get to it in a second. Remember the rest of that Tyler Durden quote? Self-improvement is masturbation. Now self-destruction. The movie never really finishes the thought, but here's what I think he meant. Self-destruction is essentially blowing up the comfortable story you built about yourself. The identity of someone who's working on it is the only move that actually leads somewhere, not literal self-destruction. The destruction of the version of you that's been hiding behind self-improvement content for years. That's the part the industry doesn't sell, because you can't package it. You can't put it in a course. The moment you destroy that comfortable story, you stop needing what they're offering. The masturbation metaphor isn't an insult. It's a precise description. Masturbation gives you the neurological experience of sex without the vulnerability, without the rejection, without the risk of actually being seen by another person. It's not evil. It's just a substitute for the real thing. Self-improvement content gives you the neurological experience of growth without the vulnerability, without the failure, without the risk of finding out what you're actually capable of. It keeps you alone. The version of you building something real, living a life that feels like yours, is not waiting for the right system. He's not optimizing. He's not journaling about it. He's retardmaxxing. It comes from the same corner of the internet that gave us looks maxing and sleep maxing and probably 17 other types of maxing I don't know about. And yes, it sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. That's exactly why it works. Because the thing it's describing is so simple that giving it a serious name would make it sound like another system to learn and optimize and never actually do. Retardmaxxing is essentially deliberately shutting off the part of your brain that overthinks, overanalyzes, and overprepares, and just do the thing. Not because you're stupid, but because you finally figured out that your intelligence has been the problem the whole time. You're too smart to start. You can see every way it could go wrong. You can construct a perfect argument for why now isn't the right time. And that intelligence without retardmaxxing is just a very sophisticated avoidance machine. The people who win are not smarter than you. They're just worse at talking themselves out of things. You don't need another video after this one. You don't need a better system. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need the fear to go away. It won't. I still feel it. It just doesn't get to decide anymore. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is not an information gap. It never was. It's the gap between the person who watches and the person who moves. You already know which one you've been. Stop optimizing, start retardmaxxing.